What would you say is generally true of people who have never worked in the corporate world and are young? They're not all young, but many of them are. So it's people who don't have corporate experience and they're young. I would say the one thing that really characterizes that group, there would be a number of things that they'd have in common, I suppose, but one of them is that they had never learned risk management, how to evaluate risks. And you see that all the time. There's no better example than this one, that Warren and Bernie Sanders want to radically change the economy at a time when the economy is doing better than it has ever done. If you were good at risk management, would you ever take something that's operating better than it has ever worked and change it completely? You could argue completely, but let's say a big change. I don't think you would. I don't think there's anybody who would make a big change to something that's working perfectly. Now, the exception to that would be, let's say you're in business and you make a good product and it's better than your competition's product. In that case, your competition is going to catch up soon. So in that case, you actually would make a big change because you anticipate that your competition will match you. So you'd better cannibalize your own product and make a big change. It's like, our old one was dominating the market, but we're still going to throw it away. Because if we don't, the competition's going to catch us. So they throw away their own product, even though it's the best one in the market, to try to make an even better one. Now, in business, you have to do that because you can depend on competition pretty much 100% of the time. But when you're talking about the American economy, well, we have sort of a general competition with China and other countries, but we're beating all of them and probably will continue to because we have a superior system. And I think that's a really big difference. Now take climate change. The climate change, if the progressives got everything they wanted, would be a gigantic change, again, to the economy, and would be really expensive, and it would be a big risk in terms of how much money would be spent and how it would change the way we live. But they say there's a big risk of not doing it, so this makes sense. So the risk management analysis is that sure, it would be risky to disrupt the economy, make all these changes, but it's an even bigger risk to let climate change do what it's doing according to them. Here's what's wrong with that. It's very bad risk management. In other words, it's sort of risk management 101. It's how you manage risk if you don't understand risk. The Republican approach is to say, well, we don't know exactly, what the risk is. The models are not that accurate, but there's probably some risk. So let's do all the things that don't hurt us that would also be the right thing to do if it were a big risk. Nuclear power, planting trees, just two examples. President Trump is all in favor of planting trees, and he's all in favor of developing nuclear power. At least he doesn't say it enough, and I think that's a flaw. But in terms of the Department of Energy and the government, they're doing a lot. They're doing a lot. So if you were to look at it not as a left or right situation, but rather as a risk management situation, which one of those is better? I would argue that unambiguously the Trump administration approach is better no matter what you think of climate change. Because their risk management approach does all the things that would be good no matter what. Well, we can always use more trees. Trees aren't bad. It's not much of a risk, especially since everyone in the world is doing it. And it's not like we're the only ones planting trees. So risk management, you look for that in all of the differences. It's a risk management difference. And I think it's an experience difference as well.